We have a very active career awareness and exploration program for our middle school and high school students in our community. Starting with our middle school program, probably our signature program, one of the most fun and exciting things we do, we engage seventh graders in a contest. We call it What's So Cool About Manufacturing? It's a video contest. We have groups of students from local schools, local middle schools, produce a video in partnership with a local company. They produce it, they film it, they interview people, they edit it, and turn it into something that, turn it into a competition. And we have a whole system where people can vote on it, kind of like American Idol. And we have ceremonies and winners and, all that kind of stuff. That engages, all parents want to go to some event where their child may win an award. That program engages hundreds and hundreds of students in our community across the state, thousands of people, lots and lots of parents and educators. And it's really like the first step that we take in introducing students to careers in manufacturing, because manufacturing is cool. These students produce fun and amazing videos. And those videos can be shared with literally, hundreds of thousands of people.
That voice was Petra Mitchell, CEO of Catalyst Connection, leading the way from her manufacturing community in the Pittsburgh region, and talking about one of the many tools you can learn about, share, and use in your region too. Her interview coming up next on the podcast, Manufacturing an American Century.
Welcome, Americans. You're listening to the podcast, Manufacturing an American Century, with your host, Matt Bogoshian.
Welcome to this episode of the AMCC podcast, Manufacturing an American Century. We're excited today to be in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with Economic Development Organization CEO of Catalyst Connection, Petra Mitchell. Welcome, Petra.
Yeah. Hello, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Pittsburgh.
Appreciate you being on the podcast. We're excited to have you, on so people across the country can hear more about your story and your manufacturing leadership in the Pittsburgh region, the birthplace of American metal manufacturing.
Yep.
And after working with you for the better part of a decade, and preparing for our talk here, I wasn't surprised to learn about your many accolades and the ways you served the American project, to include being named as Pittsburgh's most admired CEO at one point. So that was great. Congratulations for that. So let me start. You're an engineer by training, right?
That's correct, Matt. Yep. Mechanical engineer. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so tell us how you got, connected to manufacturing and the work and trying to help strengthen American manufacturing.
Yeah. Well, I would have to say that connection started prior to my college experience. My father was a machinist. And so manufacturing, I like to say, is in my blood. I've, known about manufacturing almost my entire life. Just hearing my father's experiences and the work that he was doing and those kinds of things. So it was only natural that I pursued an engineering degree or an engineering career. But when it came time to really think about, okay, now I have this degree, what do I do with it? It was just a natural, next step in my life to pursue that in a manufacturing environment, which is what happened. I went to work for GE Aircraft Engines as part of their management development program with rotations in manufacturing, and then followed that up with a assignment in their manufacturing technology development lab.
And how long did you work for GE?
I worked there for 7 years in the 90s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then was it from there that you got into economic development around manufacturing?
Yeah, that's correct, Matt. I have to admit, at the time, I probably didn't realize I was getting into economic development. What really led me to this role at Catalyst Connection, which at the time was called SPIRC, the Southwestern Pennsylvania Industrial Resource Center. And in my mind, I thought I will be working with the manufacturing supply chain. And that is how I got connected to SPIRC. Many of GE's suppliers were in the Pittsburgh area. And again, in my mind, I thought, hey, this is a natural extension of what I was doing at GE. I'll be working directly with GE suppliers, other OEM suppliers and so forth. And, really helping them to improve their competitiveness, to be better suppliers, to, grow their business, those kinds of things. I probably didn't realize till a little bit later that this was an economic development role. But, as luck would have it, I'm very, very fortunate to have had this experience.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm sure the region is very lucky to have you really connecting the dots with all of the different stakeholders that are necessary. As folks listening to this podcast know we have from 200,000 to 300,000 manufacturers across the country, and many of those in the supply chain are smaller organizations, and the supply chain, like you were talking about. Tell us a little bit about the playing field of the small and medium-sized manufacturers in the Pittsburgh region.
Yeah, Matt, we have a very robust manufacturing sector. In fact, in terms of contribution to our gross regional output, it is our third largest sector. And in the words of Dr. Michael Porter, we believe it's our largest traded sector. Because our largest, the sectors that are larger than manufacturing are financial and business services, real estate rental and leasing, which tend to, for the most part, be services that are provided to local communities. So manufacturing is our third largest. We have about 3,000 manufacturing establishments. As you pointed out, the majority of them, probably 99%, have less than 500 workers at their location. So we are dominated, and that's very similar across the country, but we are definitely dominated by small and medium-sized manufacturers. We don't have, any really significant single large OEM driving our economy like you might see, let's say, in Detroit or even, the BMW plant in South Carolina, something like that. We don't really have that. So we have a diverse sector, 3,000 establishments employing over 90,000 people, dominated by metal fabrication, precision machinery and equipment, the kinds of companies that really grew out of the industrial age here in Pittsburgh, the steel fabrication, steel making, steel fabricating, advanced materials, primary metals, materials, those kinds of things. So the suppliers that we have here, many of them grew out of those industries, but have, quite successfully diversified into many sectors. So we like to say that, in southwestern Pennsylvania, we make things for almost every imaginable sector in our country. And we make things that touch almost everything we do and use in our daily lives.
And so we've been working together for a long time. We are part of an initiative years ago called the Investing in Manufacturing Communities Partners Initiative, and you put together an application for your region way back when, which put together all of these public and private stakeholders to strengthen your manufacturing ecosystem. Tell us why the manufacturing ecosystem made up of different partners is so important to strengthening manufacturers themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, Matt, like they say, it takes a village, right? So I'm very proud of that designation. That, like you said, that goes back to 2015. I can't believe that's how long it's been, but the progress that we've made since 2015, in my mind, has been amazing. So like I said, we have these 3,000 manufacturing establishments. We have a growing manufacturing sector. We have partners that are dedicated to serving this community from a workforce development perspective, from a technology perspective, capital assistance, all those important things. And I think manufacturing is really on the map here in southwestern Pennsylvania. Now, obviously, I can't take credit for that, but I like to think I play a role in that, demonstrating how important it is. And as we pointed out earlier, the White House has taken notice of Pittsburgh as a center for advanced manufacturing. We were recently designated as a workforce hub, only one of 5 cities in the country. And when they describe why they chose Pittsburgh, advanced manufacturing was on top of the list.
Yeah,
So,
and
you know,
one of many recent federal interventions that are
yeah.
trying to help regions around the country strengthen their manufacturing sector. I mean, it's alphabet soup in terms of all the different intervention opportunities coming, and you all are participating in many of those. There's the Economic Development Administration's Build Back Better Regional Challenge. There is the Department of Defense Manufacturing Community Support Program, and many other opportunities are out there on tech hubs and National Science Foundation. How do you organize your region, Petra, to take advantage of these and other interventions? Because they come and go, and yet your region is here, your manufacturers are here. How do you absorb these interventions and leverage them for better outcomes?
Yeah, I think that, again, we have a long history of working together with our partners, like we pointed out, starting in 2015 and even before that. And so, we have a core group, let's say, of economic development. We have our universities, our three major research universities in our community here, actively engaged with us. Other economic development entities, the workforce system, and so forth. So when we see a new opportunity, whether we here at Catalyst lead that opportunity, as is the case with defense manufacturing communities, we've been the lead on that, or other entities lead, it's a quick phone call. It's not a heavy lift to engage our partners. Like I said, we have a long history of working together, and we have a quick phone call. We bring people together. We talk through what the opportunity is. We start to lay out a plan, and it's like it's a pretty seamless process. I think it doesn't take a lot of convincing of our partners to join us and to pursue whatever that new funding opportunity is. So I think that's definitely an advantage. You want to have those ready-made partnerships in your pocket, ready to go, not trying to formulate them, in response to an opportunity. You want to have them ready to go when the opportunity arises.
And that can be tricky, right? At the beginning,
tricky, yeah.
right? When you don't have kind of institutional capacity to keep those partnerships going. How did you guys build that institutional capacity?
Yeah, well, I think, it just starts with one small program, and you build on one program, you take it to the next program. One builds on another. You have common themes. We don't try to reinvent the wheel every time we seek a new funding opportunity. We have common themes around what I mentioned earlier, technical assistance, capital assistance, workforce development. Those are generally the common themes, and you can build out details under each of those kind of buckets. I would say maybe a fourth pillar that I may have neglected to mention is, the entrepreneurial support too. So that's probably our fourth pillar is, existing support or support for existing manufacturing companies. And then how do we connect them with that strong, very vibrant entrepreneurial sector that we have in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, well, that's the key. One of the key strengths of manufacturing, right, is making smarter products that solve problems. And so we need those innovative ideas, and many of those are born out of our great research universities and young people bringing those good ideas to the fore. But it's got to be, amongst an ecosystem of support is interesting. Just recently, we saw the United Kingdom adopting systems leadership as a tactic for its civil servants to be more productive outside of their silos. To have a habit of working together with other public and private partners to benefit their people. it sounds a lot like what you're talking about, is really putting together in the Pittsburgh region a systems leadership network, where folks are not siloed off, that they're working together around these common themes. Tell us about some of the tools and tactics you use to help your manufacturers and the ecosystem of support they need to thrive. I know one of the ones that we've amplified at times is this toolkit that you have worked on with other partners for having diversity, equity, and inclusion in the manufacturing workforce here. That's one tool. Tell us about that and other tools and tactics that you use here.
Yeah, Matt. So we try to adopt a pretty standard business model, which includes that education and awareness building. So whatever the topic, the best practice that we are trying to, introduce or enhance in our community, we often begin with podcasts, right? Podcasts is a tool for sure. Ebooks, self-assessment, guides, toolkits, those kinds of things, published content that really can be self-served by a manufacturer. So the manufacturer, the person at their company that's interested in a topic, they can download, they can watch, they can listen, they can learn, and decide for themselves if that particular topic is of interest to them. So in the case of diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are definitely interested in helping to diversify the manufacturing workforce in our community. And we also realize that to address the talent shortages or the talent gaps, manufacturers have to look in other places. Look in terms of recruiting people, just going to the same old well isn't going to work because there is not enough people there. And so can they look at populations of minorities, women, some disabled, people that are disabled in certain ways, but certainly competent in other ways, veterans for sure, those kinds of things. So how do we help people really understand what is it going to take to create an environment where people that are different from us can thrive, can be happy, can be engaged, can have a meaningful career and a meaningful experience. Our toolkit is all about that. It's starting that process. It's guiding them through what does that strategy look like? What are those implementation activities? What kinds of trainings? What kind of goals can we set to measure our progress and so forth? But the toolkit is really just step one. That's just learning about and thinking about and planning for an improvement. You have to actually then implement that improvement, right?
Right. That's
so,
the big thing.
Yeah, that's
and
the
with
big
all
thing.
of these interventions, Petra, right?
Yeah, all of them.
The big question is about implementation. It's great that we have them, right? And it's important to build those tools and interventions, but it's up to real people on the ground to actually absorb those things and then utilize them.
Right.
And one of the things in terms of workforce, which is a key part of the manufacturing ecosystem that needs to be addressed, is getting to kitchen tables of parents and kids early on, to educate folks about 21st century manufacturing is not what a lot of people understand. They think of 20th century manufacturing and the dirty workforce challenges. It's so different now. How are you guys getting to kitchen tables in the Pittsburgh region to describe how cool manufacturing is and the great kind of good paying jobs and the important purpose, workers in that field can make?
Yeah, Matt, I'm really happy to talk about this. We have a very active career awareness and exploration program for our middle school and high school students in our community. Starting with our middle school program, probably our signature program, one of the most fun and exciting things we do, we engage seventh graders in a contest. We call it What's So Cool About Manufacturing? It's a video contest. We have groups of students from local schools, local middle schools, produce a video in partnership with a local company. They produce it, they film it, they interview people, they edit it and turn it into something that turn it into a competition. And we have a whole system where people can vote on it, kind of like American Idol. And we have ceremonies and winners and, all that kind of stuff. That engages, all parents want to go to some event where their child may win an award. That program engages hundreds and hundreds of students in our community across the state, thousands of people, lots and lots of parents and educators. And it's really like the first step that we take in introducing students to careers in manufacturing, because manufacturing is cool. These students produce fun and amazing videos. And those videos can be shared with literally, hundreds of thousands of people. We've been doing this for about 6 or 7 years now. We have a library of probably 200, 300 videos. And we utilize them as we go out into the community and talk to people. We say, hey, take a look at this video or that video. We've had companies utilize the video to promote their own businesses as part of their own marketing toolkits. So it's been truly amazing. But I just do want to comment on that. That's not enough, right? Awareness is good. Awareness is the first step. What we do in high school then is we introduce a career pathway model. So students in high school can join a pre-apprenticeship program and earn credentials towards their post-high school career, which can be either directly into a apprenticeship program, a federally registered apprenticeship program, or to community college, and they can earn prior learning credits for community college. This really engages parents because I think, parents are starting to see, hey, my child may not be going to college, but that doesn't mean they don't have a bright future in front of them. They're earning credentials, they have a pathway, they have a plan, they have employment opportunities and educational opportunities. So I would say those two things, the awareness at the middle school level and the career pathway at the high school level are really our two signature programs engaging that kitchen table that you described.
Yeah, and the bonus is for those that go into manufacturing, either through an apprenticeship program or whatnot, can be also a pathway to a 4-year degree and advanced degrees.
True.
It's not
absolutely.
it's not an either or equation, and we've been learning about that across the country. So but that's we have an old paradigm that a lot of parents have about manufacturing, and so it's great to hear you guys are breaking that kind of with this bottom up approach, starting so early. You're into this work, Petra. It's obvious. Why do you find this work so rewarding?
Well, Matt, manufacturing enabled me and my family to have a very comfortable middle class experience. My parents were able to provide for me. I was an only child, but they were able to provide for me. We were comfortable. They were able to send me to college and so forth. And I can see that for many, many other people. It's happening already and can happen for thousands and thousands of people in our community, particularly those that perhaps feel like they've been left behind. There has been, we have to acknowledge there was a decline in our industrial sector in the Pittsburgh area. Now, it happened over 30 years ago, but it happened. And I think we have to acknowledge that. And I think we have to turn things around and show people like, hey, that happened in the past. It's not happening today. There are opportunities. You too can have a meaningful career and a very, happy life, strong families, strong communities. I think manufacturing can make it happen. So maybe it's just my little way of paying it forward.
Oh, that's great. So, before we close out, what would you like to say to people listening across the country about, how they can improve their manufacturing region?
Well, I think certainly, building up your community partners, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. So, as an economic development entity, focus on what you're good at and engage other partners and allow them to do what they're good at. We're not competing with each other. We have to work together. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. I think companies need lots of resources. They need lots of assistance. They need technical assistance, but they also need advisory services, all those kinds of things, capital. And so I think it just takes all of us to work together to make that happen.
Leading the way from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania region, Catalyst Connection CEO Petra Mitchell, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt.
You can learn more about AMCC by joining our weekly mailing list at americanmcc.org/subscribe. If you're a manufacturer, economic development professional, workforce and trading person, capital provider, or work in any field critical to American manufacturing, send us a note. We'd love to hear about progress from your part of the ecosystem and join us on our Monday calls. The next episode of this podcast, Manufacturing an American Century, will be coming out soon. So in the meantime, spread the word by sharing about AMCC and the podcast on your Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Manufacturing an American Century is available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. Thanks for our production partners, AMCC Operations Director David Van Sicklin and Mr. Mike McCallan from Podcasting for Associations. That's it for now. I'm Matt Bogoshian with you, Manufacturing an American Century.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.